Hey there, I'm Steph Silver, owner of Vine Collective and host of MVP Business Podcast. Today we're talking about leading through challenging times. Now, it's important to note that this is May of 2020, so we are in the middle, somewhere in the middle, of the COVID-19 pandemic. Hopefully close to the end, but who knows? It could be another year or so. So we're going to start off by defining challenging times. Are all times tough? Is this really an opportunity? Now, some of you may chuckle and say, look around, we're in the middle of the most challenging times of our lives. And I would challenge that thought. You know, there are folks out there who are thriving right now. Who do you think they might be? Introverts who live alone? That's what I think, but I'm an extrovert, so I don't know. I'm not doing well right now. Folks without kids? Maybe, but I happen to think that my kids are what's keeping me sane because they keep me busy. Businesses that support digital learning and digital conference calls, perhaps if they were ready for the surge of work. The true answer is people who have lived through extremely challenging times in the past and have built up a sense of faith and resilience. They're the ones who are most likely to thrive when circumstances get tough. So let's go back to the original question. How do we define challenging times? From my experience, most people define challenging times as when there are large or multiple obstacles, feelings of uncertainty, or lack of control. Would you agree? Think back to a time in business when there were no obstacles. You had complete control of the situation, and you were certain that everything was right on track. Was that an absolute truth or feeling? If the right person had walked into the room and questioned your plan, or if the key ingredient had become suddenly unavailable at the last minute, would you still be certain? The truth is, we never have control, and there are always obstacles. It's ultimately our mindset that defines the situation and thus has the greatest impact on the outcome. Most of us were caught off guard completely by the changes sparked by COVID-19. The majority of my audience and clients are located in Texas, so we had a fairly slow transition compared to other countries and US states. Across the globe, though, some businesses, they had contingency plans. Others were already virtual, and some were able to shift and move most of their business online. That said, few people knew they were going to have to suddenly be the educators of their children while working, that they would have to think a week or more ahead for their grocery orders, that it may be months before they were able to leave their homes, or that they would not know if or when they would be able to hug or touch their loved ones again. None of this even begins to take into account the changes in business, job mindset, location, and management. When we look back on the first weeks of this crisis, I think we're going to notice a very stark difference in how leaders behaved. I've seen 3, maybe 4 types of leaders in recent weeks. Those who ignored the orders and signs completely, putting themselves and their employees and their family members at risk. Those who saw red flags and immediately began laying off employees, trimming expenses, and hyperventilating into the nearest corner. And those who took a step back, calmly assessed the situation, looked inward toward the gifts they have to share, and then outward at how to share them. And the 4th type of leader is the one who constantly flip-flops and cartwheels between all 3 of these. And they're kind of stuck. In my opinion, it's the 3rd group that will be the ones to thrive. That doesn't mean that they didn't have to or won't have to make extremely difficult decisions. Perhaps let team members they love go, or even close the doors to the business that they worked so hard to build. They will, however, be more confident that they did their best. But no matter how they or you reacted in the beginning, you still have time to take a deep breath, calmly assess the situation, and make the necessary changes your business and communication need to put you back on the path to thrive. In fact, this is the most important thing leaders should do in challenging times, in calm times, and in the best of times. Take a deep breath, calmly assess the situation, and make the necessary changes your business and communication need to put you on a path to thrive. In America, we believe that busy is good and busier is best. If we see someone reading or meditating in the park, we don't assume they're the CEO of a large, successful corporation. That person would obviously be in their high-rise building, making great decisions from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., listening to business news or podcasts on their way home, and then logging back on to, after a brief hello to their family. Wrong. Did you know that Ariana Huffington has a nap room at the Huffington Post office? Or that Ray Dalio has been meditating for over 40 years and believes it is the single biggest thing that has contributed to his success? Oprah believes the same thing. But it's not just sleep and meditation that are now being touted as the greatest contributors to success. It's the overarching concept of deep, relaxing, breathing, and taking the time to be, think, and heal. So let's do that right now. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Hold it for a minute. Then let it out. I know I already feel a little bit better than I did before that breath. So in your greatest moments of self-doubt and fear, simply take a breath or several long, deep breaths. But in between and before those great moments, make sure you're taking time for yourself. That's not something that I'm very good at, but I remind myself. Also, spend time in and with nature, not thinking about your business or money at all. This practice will prepare your mind to provide clear, healthy paths for meaningful and productive thought. What are you meant to do? What pushes you? What pulls you? What is the gift you are meant to share with the world? Now, I know this is the ultimate question that some search throughout their entire lives to determine. However, you don't have to go on a walkabout to figure this out. I mean, it might help, but it's not completely necessary. Let's start with what pushes you. What lights you up? Gardening, dancing, speaking, writing, sports and activity. That's the order of mine, by the way. Make sure that you're doing this on a regular basis. Find ways to work this into your daily and weekly practice and into your business. It's important to note that it doesn't need to be the big moneymaker. In fact, it doesn't have to be a moneymaker at all. But here's some benefits of pursuing and acting on the activities that light up your heart and soul. A happy leader is truly a better leader, always. You'll be a positive example to your team and your community and your family. If you're currently unable to determine how to monetize your passions, they may still add value to your culture and your brand. Pursuing these passions will lead to greater inspirational thought in your business. So what pulls you? As you're taking the time to breathe and do the things that make you shine from the inside out, you'll find a clarity with your inner voice that tells you what direction to travel. Listen to it. It's this voice that will tell you what your customers really want, what they need right now, and what you are able to provide. Talk with your team and figure out how to bring this to fruition. Then, know your mission, know your why, and truly lead with it. Why are you in business to begin with? To feed, to entertain, to connect, to inspire, to heal? Take your time to figure out your why and then break it down into one meaningful statement. Take that to your team on a daily and weekly basis. Every single conversation you have with them should push back and inspire toward that end goal. Try to find different ways to keep that mission in front of everyone and on top of people's minds so that your employees are driven and empowered to continually make decisions and suggestions that fulfill this mission, and your customers know what value you bring to their lives. Here are some things that you might try to bring the why to your team. Discuss why this mission is important to you. Most leaders forget about this, and they assume that the product tells the story. It's not true. Tell a story about how your business has positively impacted a customer. During your sales meetings, before you ask about quotas and closed business, ask how your prospects' lives can be improved by your prospect or service. You'll be astounded at how this changes your sales process. Ask your top salespeople to tell a story about how your business impacted the life or business of a customer. Ask your CFO which expenses are contributing to your mission and which ones are not aligned, and then change your business based on those answers. When you do this, you'll find that your team not only feels better, they'll perform better. They'll know that they have something greater to work toward and how it impacts their customers. Yes, their customers, not just yours. You'll also find that your sales and customer service numbers increase dramatically. Then see your weaknesses and fill them with strength. Every great business owner will tell you that they surround themselves with people who are smarter than they are. I'm going to let that statement sit there for a minute because we've all heard it and we know it to be true, but we limit our beliefs when making that happen for ourselves. We think that those great leaders are so incredibly smart to begin with that they must be better than we are to be so wealthy or famous. Then we think they must have had money to pay for all those smart people around them. Those are false stories that we tell ourselves in the fear and confusion of life and business. Here's the truth. These great leaders find ways to surround themselves with people who will help them. They're so passionate that they get people on board regardless of the compensation. They enlist experts, friends, advisors, and mentors who are willing to provide thoughtful insight and direction. And they are willing to give back. Remember, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you are doesn't mean you hire them. It can mean that you have a board of advisors that provide you with their ideas and expertise. You just need to make sure that you're honest with them and you ask the right questions. So what are the right questions? Any. Don't hold back. But while you're seeking help for others, find what you can offer in return. Begin with gratitude. Then take it a step further. Is there something they would like to see from you? A check-in of growth perhaps? Is there a connection you have that would be helpful for them? Don't assume you have nothing to offer. Everyone is confronted with challenging times. Take stock of how you feel right now. Think of how you felt when you started your business, when you got your first job, when you had your first child. Some of us had little to no support in those transition times, and some had great safety net. Regardless of your situation, the offer of a hand, a heart, or a kind and understanding smile went a long way. So during this time of complete transition, I'm seeing that most people are giving more grace than they typically would. It appears that most leaders are struggling so much themselves that they're more understanding about the balance of time between family and work than they ever have been. Let's take a moment to step back and take a snapshot of the world right now. In your mind's eye, step out of your home, out of your business, out of your family, and look at the emotional activity of the world we live in. What I see is calm chaos that is constantly flowing between fear, acceptance, sadness, anger, depression, hope, and love. Because we're in a unique position of having this shared global experience, the grace and compassion is being extended in abundance. However, is this flux of emotion not something that every individual will experience at different times throughout their lives and their career? It's important to live in the zone of proximal development and to push your team members slightly out of their comfort zones. But pay attention to body language, facial expressions, and the patterns you see around you and in yourself. If performance begins to slip, attitudes emerge, or other changes become evident, it's important to assess the entire situation. Take time to have a heartfelt conversation about what that person or group is experiencing and what you can do to help. You may be surprised to find that a simple acknowledgement or a little bit of time brings that person back on board or empowers them to perform at even higher capacities. If that's not the case, the heartfelt conversation may also lead to kind and compassionate transitions to another role or another department, or perhaps out of the company. But whatever the case, remind yourself to always lead with compassion. Now, this may be the only sports term that I use, but it's important. I mean, the pivots we've seen during this COVID-19 crisis have been astounding and outstanding. Here in Austin, Alamo Drafthouse was not only streaming new movies, but delivering meal kits, games, alcohol, groceries. Blanco Brew, a coffee shop in Wimberley, and other shops around the country were providing flour and eggs and milk and Mother's Day gifts and other wonderful things that their customers wanted and needed. Hasbro and other toy manufacturers are making PPE and other medical equipment. These businesses knew what their customers and communities needed, what their mission was, and how they could meld the two together to provide relevant products and services. They acted fast, changed their business model, and they're finding creative ways to survive. It's my opinion that these businesses will continue to survive because they know how to look inward toward the gifts they have to share, then outward at how to share them without panicking. This is the skill you want to get comfortable with, because challenge and change are unpredictable and frequent. The leaders who bob and weave with ease are the ones with the big houses, the fancy cars, and the vacations that we all dream about. So I think there are 3 things that provide the foundation for this ability to bob and weave. The inner work we discussed earlier, time in nature, time for yourself, doing the things you love. a clear and concise mission that everyone is on board for, and compassion. Sometimes you have to lean in when you really just want to jump out. I hear people say, it's too hard, there's no end in sight. And that does feel true. You know, everyone wants to be on top of the mountain when the weather is nice. But what most people don't take into account are the treacherous cliffs, mountain lions, hunger, thirst, and other unpredictable conditions that needed to be overcome to get there. If you want to succeed, you must be willing to work hard, push yourself when you think you can't go any further, and ask for help when you need it. I also hear people say, I didn't ask for this. Well, sometimes great leaders simply find themselves at the front of the pack. They didn't ask to be there, but were somehow propelled into that position. They often ask if they are really the right person to lead. Is this the right time? Are they smart enough? Or if they are strong enough? Whether you are scaling the mountain or looking back at your pack, it's your why that will push you forward and keep your team, your pack, your tribe, and your community and your customers moving forward, overcoming the unpredictable challenges that confront you along the way, and scaling the mountain together. Thank you. If you have any thoughts or questions, or you want to reach out, you can contact me, silver@vine-collective.com, and you can always find us on all those social media channels to find more presentations like this. Thank you so much. I hope you found this helpful.